Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are breaking down the legendary blueprint from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And let me tell you, this is way more than just a financial guide. It's like a total mental reset. We're going to challenge all those ideas about money that hold most people back and visually map out a new path to building real wealth. So let's dive right in.
Most of us are taught the exact same formula. Get a good education, find a secure job, and just climb that corporate ladder. But what if that entire framework is actually a trap? What if the very system we're told to trust isn't designed to make us wealthy, but to keep us forever chasing that next paycheck? Well, this endless cycle has a name, and we're about to tear it apart. It's called the rat race. So, at the heart of this whole philosophy is the author, Robert Kiyosaki, and the two incredibly different financial mentors who shaped his entire life. Their conflicting advice created two totally separate paths, which forced him to make a fundamental choice. And it's a choice that every single one of us still faces today when we think about our money. On one side, you've got his poor dad, super educated, stable government job, a guy who valued security above everything else. And on the other side, his rich dad, an 8th grade dropout who was all about financial freedom. And here's the real kicker. Their financial outcomes had almost nothing to do with their degrees or their salaries. It was all about their completely different ways of thinking. This quote right here, this is the absolute core of the rich dad philosophy. See, the poor dad mindset is all about trading your time for a paycheck. But the rich dad mindset, that's about building systems, businesses, investments that make money for you, whether you're actively working or not. Honestly, this one little shift in perspective is the key to everything else we're about to talk about. Okay, so how do we actually get that rich dad mindset? Well, it all starts by recognizing the trap that most of society is caught in, the rat race. And here's the secret. It's not really a financial problem, it's an emotional one. This whole cycle is powered by two of the most powerful human emotions we have, fear and greed. Think about it like this. The fear of not having enough money gets you out of bed and to work. But the second you get that paycheck, greed just takes over. You start wanting more stuff, a nicer car, a bigger house, the latest phone. And pretty soon, your expenses creep up right alongside your income. And suddenly, you're trapped. You have to work even harder just to keep up. It's this exhausting, never-ending loop. The words we use when we talk about money play a huge part in keeping us stuck in that loop. When we say something like, I can't afford it, our brain just accepts it. It's like a command that says, okay, stop thinking, problem solving is over. It just shuts down any chance of finding a solution. But watch what happens when you just tweak the phrasing into a question. How can I afford it? This tiny little change turns a dead-end street into a puzzle. It forces your brain to switch on, to start looking for creative solutions, and to exercise that financial muscle that is absolutely essential for building wealth. And that leads us to what is probably the single most important rule in this entire philosophy. Seriously, if you forget everything else from this explainer, remember this: the critical difference between an asset and a liability. Getting this one concept is the absolute foundation of all wealth. And honestly, it is this simple. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of it. That's it. The wealthy spend their lives acquiring assets. The poor and middle class, well, they tend to spend their money on liabilities that they think are assets, like a brand new car or even the mortgage on their own home. And this part is so crucial. Building wealth is not a one-time event. It's not about winning the lottery. It's the result of small, consistent, sometimes even boring, daily habits. It's the discipline of choosing over and over again to buy assets instead of liabilities. It's about building a system, not just hoping for lucky break. Okay, so this brings us to another huge mindset shift. You have to learn to mind your own business. See, most people mix up their profession with their business. Your profession is your job. It's what you do to pay the bills. Your business, on the other hand, is your asset column. That's the thing you build for your future. I mean, just think about it for a second. When you get your paycheck, who gets paid before you do? Your employer makes the profit off your work. The government takes a big slice in taxes, and the bank gets its cut from your mortgage and your loans. You're basically working for them first. Minding your own business means you start making it a priority to build your asset column, not theirs. All right. Now we're getting into one of the more advanced strategies from the Rich Dad playbook. The wealthy don't just play the game differently. A lot of times, they're using a completely different set of rules. And one of their most powerful tools, their secret weapon, is the corporation.
The big advantage here is all about the flow of money. As an employee, your money flows like this. You earn it, you immediately pay taxes, and then you get to spend whatever is left. A huge chunk is gone before you even touch it. But a corporation, its cash flow is earn, spend, pay taxes. The corporation gets to spend its money on legitimate business expenses first and is only taxed on what's left over at the end. It is a complete and total game changer.
So let's bring this all home. The first real step to financial freedom isn't about trying to earn more money. Real financial intelligence isn't measured by how much you make. It's about how much you keep, and even more importantly, how hard that money works for you. It all comes back to building your system.
So this brings us to your first step. And I want you to actually do this. Don't just listen to this and move on. Tonight, take a serious look at your finances and ask yourself these two questions. First, what is one liability I can cut or get rid of? And second, what is one small, just 1% action I can take tomorrow to start building my asset column? Look, building real wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. It's all about practice and repetition, not just reading the theory in a book. The principles themselves are actually pretty simple, but it's the discipline to apply them day in and day out that separates the wealthy from everyone else. The potential reward is life-changing, so the only question left is, are you going to start?